Hey, all right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Tiger Table. And today we have Emma joining us on the couch as well as Luke.
Hello. I feel like I missed the all black memo today.
Sorry,
no one
man.
told me.
Well, you got black shoes, black socks, and a black top.
And a black soul.
Oh, he kind of does.
I'm looking a bit emo today, aren't I?
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe not emo.
The
Maybe
pills
like
brighten it up a bit, I think.
not quite emo. I would probably say like maybe more scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back to my scene kid
Scene
roots.
kid. Yeah, more scene kid than emo. Yeah.
We're talking about that like 15-year cycle, right? 15 years ago, I was full scene kid.
Yeah.
I had the straightened fringe down to here and like the yellow skinny jeans from Supre
Photos are
and
glorious.
JJ's.
Yeah, man. I
Shop
had
at Supre.
red skinny jeans from Supre.
Yeah.
I had a comb over like down to here.
Oh, you were a Supre kid
Yep.
too.
Yeah, I was a Supre kid.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
you won't find
you
photos,
didn't strike me as a
I've
Supre kid.
scrubbed the internet. You will never find that shit.
I
It's
don't.
gone. I wish I'd still had the
I'm like, I
photos.
will repost those photos to laugh at myself. I'm that person that's like, clear no history.
Yeah.
Like, all on the table. This is where I was.
It was all on my MySpace, but like my MySpace got hacked and deleted, so I can't find it.
Who was your top friend?
Fuck, I can't even remember, man. That's so long ago. Friends from high school, probably. But I remember the song that was on my MySpace.
What was it?
Papa Roach.
Sick.
Tear My
Last
Heart
resort?
Open. No,
Which
Tear
one?
My Heart Open, is it?
Last resort.
Last
That is-
resort? Cut my
oh.
life into pieces. This is my last resort.
Yeah, yeah.
Suffocation. No breathing.
Yeah. If it gets my heart bleeding. No. It's I Tear My Heart Open.
Okay.
What's that one? It's like, I tear my heart open. I sew myself shut.
I think I only know one
My
Papa Roach.
weakness is...
Same. I didn't know.
Dude, it was
They're a
way-
one-hit wonder in my eyes.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's a hit. Hit is correct, but
Yeah, like look it up. Just
Tear my heart open.
look
yeah.
up Dane's MySpace page.
This is
where it all began.
Scars.
Scars.
Papa Roach Scars. The most depressing shit. And this was on my MySpace. And it was
so
just like videos of me doing BMX.
That's so early 2000.
Sick. That was
Yeah.
your first brand.
That was my
That,
first
that was
brand,
your personal
dude.
brand.
This
right?
emo kid in high school that liked
BMX
Papa
and emo.
Roach. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love it.
But yeah, back then we had Bebo, we had MySpace, and Facebook wasn't really a
Bieber.
thing.
I thought you said Bieber for a second. I was like, are
No,
you like
Bebo.
listening to Papa Roach and Justin Bieber? Like,
No.
Papa Bieber.
yeah, Papa Bieber.
Papa
have, You,
Bieber?
have you seen the Slipknot Bieber mashup?
No?
Oh, it's so good. They've taken Psychosocial but put the vocals of Baby over the top, and it fits flawlessly.
Dude, I love it when people pull that shit off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's so funny. You'll love it.
Well, that brings us to maybe a little bit of intro to today's episode. What we wanted to unpack and dive into today was a little bit about, I guess, how would you guys summarize like personal branding within the hemisphere of like media and entertainment and just using them as examples of like how we can grow our own personal brands?
Yeah, I think what I find interesting about it is people don't realize that brands are everywhere. You see a person and you're like, oh, that's a personality. But I think a personality translates to a brand. So we wanted to just break apart some of the world's most famous personalities and how some of that is a conscious choice to
Yeah.
brand themselves for a specific audience.
Yeah.
And why that works.
Yeah, and I would say probably one of the people that are absolutely, well, the person that's breaking the internet at the moment is Taylor Swift. And I know both of you are huge fans.
Absolutely.
I admire Taylor. I'm not an avid listener as much as you both are, and I don't try to buy tickets. But like, man, massive respect for what she's done. But
Good
yeah,
for you that you didn't try to buy tickets. It's a
Yeah.
painful experience.
Well,
I
I'm
have
like, I don't want to, you know,
Yeah.
what we had.
Regret and remorse.
Guys, like for those of you listening, it was an ordeal here at RIVYL when Tay was coming to Australia. I remember walking around the office, there's 25 of us. Everyone had 3 monitors and their phone and their tablet open, smashing refresh all day to hopefully get a ticket. And
People are like,
one
can you get on
person-
this client call? Everyone's like,
Yeah.
no, sorry.
Yeah.
Not today, I can't.
Not working today.
Yeah, we were super unproductive that day, but you know, there was really no fruit at the end of it because no one got tickets, and except one person who had a friend that
Yeah.
got 2 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what? There was 800,000 people trying to get tickets for.
I researched this. It was more. There was more than 4 million people in Australia trying to get tickets.
No,
That is
It
wild.
felt like it.
Yeah.
That's like
that's
a quarter of the country.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the
yeah,
Australian
yeah.
population? 26 million.
25 million, I think.
Was that a thing that we're supposed to know? That feels like a fact that should be common knowledge.
It's always
I-
changing, man. So how are we meant to
I
know?
don't
it?
know.
25 million, I'm right.
Yeah.
20. Hold on.
When I last looked it up, it was
I'm
18.
right. Mic drop. Yeah. So what? She had a fifth of the population, roughly, trying to buy tickets to her show. Plus, you would have had people from overseas as well because she's not going to New Zealand. So there was a bunch of New Zealand.
That's
people.
ridiculous, man. So 20,
Huge.
20, like what is that? 20% of our population try and buy tickets.
Yep. and many, 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 many people failing at that because she is not performing to 20% of the population. She's doing 4 nights in Sydney and I want to say 3 nights in Melbourne, maybe 4 nights in Melbourne. But 80,000 cap stadium.
Would you say that from your experience, she's kind of tapping into what Elvis and Michael Jackson were tapping into? Like there's fame and then there's like this sensationalism.
Yeah, she's definitely like the timeless. She's a household name forever now. Like surely there's no one on the planet who's never heard of Taylor Swift at this point.
Okay.
That would be an interesting poll.
Yeah.
A tribe in the Amazon.
Drop a comment if you've never heard of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Actually, reverse that. Drop a comment if you've heard of Taylor Swift. We're just going to boost the engagement on this one, I reckon.
So she's doing 4 shows in Sydney and 3 in Melbourne.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot. And this is not a standard venue in Australia. This is like an arena,
Huge.
right?
So we were...
Or stadium, sorry. She plays at stadiums.
MGC.
Yeah. So I guess dialing that back to how she built that phenomenon, right? We were chatting about it throughout the week in the office. And something that we sort of touched on is this interesting aspect of, to me, she is the person I can think of that has rebranded the most. And I think it's a perfect example of one brand not having that longevity of forever. You know, people get scared to rebrand. They go, oh, but people know my existing brand. You know, people have seen my logo. People know what I'm like. If I change that, I'm going to lose everyone. And I think she is the example of the exact opposite being successful.
When you say rebranded, like what do you mean? Because like I understand that she's kind of evolved her music. She used to have curly hair, now she has straight hair. Her music used to be
That's it. That's what a rebrand
country
is.
now. It's
all
pop.
I
Change
know.
your hair, you're done.
Yeah. Okay. So like let's unpack that. Like at what point do you consider, okay, she's done a rebrand? Because like artists are always changing themselves from what I can tell. Like the ones that last. Like even like the weekend, constantly just evolving themselves, right?
Yep. Yep.
But how do you define what that is?
I think for me, I see that as, I would say her overarching brand that I would say she's had the entire time is authenticity. Every era of Taylor Swift has very much seemed true to who she is at that time.
Right.
And I think in and amongst that, part of that authenticity comes with the acknowledgement that you grow as a person, you grow in your life, and throughout each phase of her life, she's branded to match what she's singing about, what she's going through, who she is as a person.
Right. What are some
really
examples of that?
relatable.
Like what was her first album
So-
true to today?
Her first album is, I want to say 2006. It was self-titled, and she was this small town girl. She grew up on a Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania. And
That's so romantic. I didn't
know,
know it was
right?
a Christmas
Beautiful. I
tree
didn't know
farm.
that.
yeah. And then she has this very wholesome Christmas song called Christmas Tree Farm about it. It's very nice.
Aw.
Yeah, very sweet.
Just hit me in
Aw.
the heart, man.
Feels.
Dane's going to be a Swiftie by the end of
Dude,
this
I'm
Oh,
episode.
like,
yeah.
she just
Goal
says like points, man.
conversion.
I'm like, what a sweetie pie.
But so if you, and you know, that sounds sweet now, right? Because we're talking about 2006 when she was breaking out as an artist. But if you flip that, now that she's the most famous person in the world, essentially, imagine she's now singing about living in a small town, chasing a guy. You'd be like, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
You know, you live in a mansion.
Doesn't
and
fit the archetype she is now.
Exactly.
So when an artist is maybe unknown, you're kind of like, you have to play that game?
Yeah.
Would you say?
I think she played the game of being true to herself. She was
Yeah.
writing music that reflected what she was going through in her life at the time. It was
Right.
this like small town young girl, you know, exploring romance for the first time. And I've got a crush on this boy from high school. And it was this relatable content for people that saw themselves as the small town, you know, girl next door vibe.
Right.
And I think so much of that brand at the time came around community and people feeling like they belong in that scene. Something that I think in hindsight is absolutely genius is, you know, so much of branding is about owning something in people's minds. And she, from the get-go, had this storyline of 13 was her lucky number. And in all of her music videos and at all of her shows, she wrote the number 13 on her hand. And something as simple as that made fans go, well, I can show my support to Taylor Swift by also writing a 13 on my hand. And now I'm part of this community. And now every time they see the number 13, they're like, Taylor Swift. So right then and there, it was like, you know, it kind of taps into that dreamer feel of like, you know, positive manifestation. I've got my lucky number on my hand. I'm positive about what's going to happen in my day.
Yeah.
And being authentic, like you said, and putting that out there gives people the chance to engage with it and show their support. And so you're like building the opportunity for people to connect with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And it's maybe similar to like what you see happen like with Prince. He had the Purple Army. Like people just kind of rally around the artist.
Yep.
And would you say Taylor is in like intentionally creating Easter eggs
Oh,
in her career? Like how much do you think of her branding is like luck? She's just got the gift of the gab versus like she's engineered this thing
She's
very
engineered
meticulously.
so much of it. I think, look, it's authentic in that, you know, she's an incredible lyricist. You listen to her songs, so I'm like, this feels very real.
Yeah, the storytelling is amazing.
Yeah, incredible storyteller, but there's so many little hidden Easter eggs, which I think just helps people dive further and further in. Something I thought was really interesting is, you know, I think in personal brands, in big brands as well, I think there's either the people that latch on originally, the leaders that go, I wanted to be the person to discover a brand.
Right.
The innovators.
Yeah,
In branding language.
There you go. Love it. This is why you're the copywriter.
and the early adopters.
Yeah. And then you've got the followers, right?
Right.
Who see everyone else loving it and they go, oh, I have to jump on this train.
Yeah.
I think the Easter eggs are appealing to the early adopters, the innovators who are wanting to go deeper and deeper. And that's like their thing, right? They're like, but I know about this. I found this Easter egg. And I think she did such a great job of building that to the point where so many people in that community loved her,
Right.
that it was so loud that everyone else couldn't ignore it anymore. So the followers jumped on.
You've just brought something to the front of my mind. Cabe, can you go to Google and type in Simon Sinek, The Law of Definitive Innovation? I think I've got that correct. There's this diagram that, you know, for those that don't know who, just go to images and see if there's a graphic of it on there. Yeah, just click on the first one. I don't know if you can pull it up big screen, that graphic that you've just got there. That's
We're
fine.
testing my eyesight here.
Yeah.
I feel like the client that's like, make the logo bigger.
Yeah, let me put my glasses on.
I had it just 10 minutes ago. I was like, are you squinting? Can I make it bigger? They're like, yeah.
But yeah, if you look at this, right, like, so Simon Sinek talks about the marketplace in the stages, right? So would you say as a personal brand, and anyone can go on YouTube and look this up, but there's this graph he has where he's like, okay, whatever the brand is, individual or otherwise, you've got the early innovators, which are like, I want to be the guy that discovered the brand.
Yep.
Or the music, or like, no one's heard of this. I just found this latest, coolest band. I'm going to rep it, buy their merch, go to their shows. Nobody knows about it. That feeling of like, I'm first is the innovators. Then you have the early adopters, which is like people that see the innovator. Like, Luke, I would say you're an innovator. You're always like on the cutting edge of fashion and music. And then
Thank you.
the crowd around you are like, oh, if Luke's into it, I'm into it. That's the early adopter. Then they jump a chasm and they start to hit the early majority. So that's where most of the market that are like savvy with it start jumping on. So where would you say Taylor is? Because then you got the late majority and the laggards, which is like grandma and grandpa. They jump on social media 8 years into like, Facebook's great. And it's like, that platform died 3 years ago. But yeah, where would you say she is?
I would say she's gone this whole journey, right? If we're talking back to 2006 first album, she's, you know, it's innovators, it's the early adopters. She was very much part of that smaller community where people who liked her.
That's her first album, like at the beginning.
At the beginning,
right.
Yeah. And then, you know, she moves through. Second album was similar cycle to the first. It's still the sort of small town girl, you know, girl next door, first romance sort of vibe. I think the biggest change, the first sort of rebrand per se, was for her album Red, which was 2012. I believe it was when she was living in Nashville and moved from Nashville to LA. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, well now you're big time, right? You're living in Los Angeles. You're working with some of the biggest writers in the world. You have to grow with your audience and still be authentic at that point. These people are now, the people that started listening to you when they were 15 are now 21.
Right.
They're not in high school anymore. They're reaching that part of their life where they're, you know,
so her audience are like
maturing as well.
growing
They're
with her.
maturing. Yeah.
They're going on the hero's journey together with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So she's growing up, they're growing up, and she's still sticking true to herself. At this point, it's like, okay, well now I'm going to write a record that sounds a bit more big time, right? I'm in LA, I'm working with all these big writers.
Right.
It would be inauthentic to have this record that sounds like it's just come out of a small town.
Yeah.
So I would say that's where you're starting to hit that early majority.
Okay.
And then from there, the biggest peak was 1989, which is when I jumped on the Taylor Swift bandwagon.
Yeah, that's when I actually started listening, which is Shake and
Shake It Off.
Shake It Off.
Yeah.
And sorry if I'm sorry, Tay fans. So Shake It Off, and then the other one, which was
Blank Space.
Yeah, like it just felt like she started to have an opinion on global issues.
I would say that probably came a little bit later. I would say that was probably Reputation, following album.
Right. So she's progressively being like owning her her stage of her career as she
Yeah.
goes.
Her stage of her career and growing with that fan base as well. The people who were those early adopters,
Right.
you know, if she's just constantly staying as the same thing, they're going to try find the next new thing.
Yeah.
But if they're, you know, every cycle that comes along, they're like, oh, I relate to this too. Oh my God, you know, this feels like me. They're like, she understands me. She gets me. So I think
Yeah.
1989 was when they were all turning 21, which in America is obviously the legal drinking age. People are started going out and it's like, have some club bangers.
Yeah.
Have a pop hit that you and your
Like,
friends can sing.
I think that she talks a lot about her life experiences, and those evolve with her as she's growing. She's like maturing as a person and getting
Yeah.
older, turning into an adult. And so I think that authentic base that you spoke to, the storytelling and the experiences are something unique to her, but it's how she styles and produces the music, and then that flows through to the image, the costuming, the presentation that starts to really craft how her brand is perceived and have those jumps.
So she's curating her visual aesthetic, her cinematography. How do I say that?
Cinematography.
Cinematography. Sorry, Cabe. She's seemingly just not sticking to what works. She's like, what's the next era of my career, and just moving into it, which is an interesting point, because oftentimes we talk to people who have a personal brand. They're like, this works, this got me here. And then they're just stuck, and they're fearful that if they make a change, they're going to turn off their audience.
Yep.
So what would you say if someone's like, like I'm on the precipice of like kind of feeling like I need to, but I'm fearful I'm going to lose the people that are followed me up to this point? Because I've experienced that a little bit as well. But like, what's your take on like people that are trying to do that in the market?
For me, it's the opposite. If you feel like you're at that precipice of needing to change, your audience probably feel the same.
Right.
They also get sick of things, right? If someone's been interacting with a brand for 10, 20 years, there might become a time where they're like, this is feeling a bit outdated now.
Right.
This is done. You know, they've grown up, they've got different interests. So how do you pivot with that to keep that
Or they
audience?
kind of like seen it all. Because like when
It's a bit repetitive.
because remember when I started posting on social media, I was teaching content about how to make content about making content. I was like, I'm a genius. Like, who on Instagram
very
doesn't-
meta.
Yeah, I was like super meta. Like, who on Instagram doesn't want to know about how to grow Instagram, right? I was like, I got this. But after a while, it's like I taught everything, and then I was kind of like, I just keep teaching it. It's monetized. It's doing great. But then that's when I was like, you know what? I want to go into the world of branding. And I pivoted my content, and I did see a drop off, but then it picked up again and grew even faster.
Yeah.
So like I did see that initial loss, and that fear hits you like, oh, this isn't working. But sometimes, just not rebranding, but just taking a step to the left or a step to the right, or moving beyond your parameters of what you do, I think really opens the world of inviting a new audience in. But I think a percentage of your old audience will always come with you. And I'm sure there's Taylor Swift fans that were like, she's changed. I like your old music. There's probably
people come and
people
go
out
along
there.
the way. Yeah,
I'm
for
starting
sure,
to do
but
that now, actually. I've been with
You're
her
just
the
salty
whole
that you didn't
way.
get tickets.
Yeah,
You're like,
kinda,
that's
the cry party, and I was like, I'm done with this.
You're like, why is it 3 a.m. and I'm at a club listening to Taylor Swift?
you're like, I need to make some changes in my life.
Emma took a day off work to recover from this Taylor Swift cry party for people who
And I'm
missed out on
Pretty
tickets.
sure that's where I got content.
I was going to say, and you got COVID
Wait,
from it.
what's a cry party? I don't understand what's going on.
So for the people that missed out on Taylor Swift tickets, they popped up an event in Paddington to be like, come and cry together. We'll play Tay-Tay music and we'll just like commiserate. And it was a
Wait.
lot of fun. It was not only me, it was Patricia. And yes, I'm dubbing you in.
Wait, were you guys actually crying till 3 a.m.?
We weren't actually. There were
I know,
people
it's
there
just
People
crying.
sitting on the floor crying and just...
I get it. Like you
been
can extra
interesting to
pain.
see.
Like, that's cool.
I didn't actually cry,
Right.
but I won't speak for everyone present.
Okay.
Something about the Taylor Swift, I guess, community. They're
Yeah.
quite strong together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
When
passionate.
no one could get the tickets, I remember seeing all these posts about the movie,
Yeah.
the concert that was in, and they're like, we're not going to
Yeah.
sit down, we're going to dance and sing. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they're like,
But that's what
participate.
that comes back to the
anyway.
brand, right? We're talking about the 13 on her hand for this positive manifestation and stuff. Like
Yeah.
these fans are conditioned to think positively, which is it's great,
Conditioned,
right?
I love that.
At what point does this become a cult?
Conditioned
That's my
their whole
question.
life. It already is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's past.
All right,
Yeah.
so talking about this cult. So, all right, and I'm saying this with love. You know, like there's a term that's been thrown around at the moment called Swiftflation, and it's a thing.
Yeah, it is.
So I'd love Emma to unpack this, because we were talking about this the other day, and this is kind of scary. But like, what the hell is Swiftflation? Is it real?
It is
and
100% real.
So okay, and
Google tells us it's
what
real.
was that?
And therefore it's real.
It's been coined.
So the way I understand it was when Taylor Swift goes to town, there's inflation.
Yeah, that's effectively it.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's so big that the local concerts in Sydney are an example of that. That when she comes to town, that hotel rooms go up, airfares go up, food goes up, everything gets pushed up, and they're calling it Swiftflation.
That's crazy, man. So like, yeah, like similar to when Formula One went to Vegas. I heard this wild story. I don't know if this is a weird segue, but this is just
Was this the
interesting.
story I told you?
I think you told me
Of
this.
the lights?
Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah.
say, dude? It's crazy because what we were talking about, and you were telling me this was okay. F1 was in Vegas for the first time.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know what Vegas is, it's this giant strip. It's flat and
Does anyone not know what Vegas is?
I don't think anyone
I
knows.
like the explanation.
I tried.
That's a global brand
That's
at
irrelevant.
this point.
That's irrelevant. That's a global brand. But
By the way, Vegas has a brand, is a brand. Continue.
It
good
is.
point. Yeah.
It's a very immersive brand. Have you guys
A
been
very
there?
deliberate brand too.
Have you been there?
I have not.
It's wild. It's the most bizarre place I've ever been. in my
All
life.
I've had is a friend walk through the main strip and just like show me around. But yeah. So what happened was Formula One went to Vegas. They put up the lights, the track, and everything else. But then all of these high rises that could see the track,
all the hotel rooms.
all the hotels were booking out,
yeah.
and they had prime real estate views of the whole race.
Yeah.
And F1 went around to all of the hotels supposedly and said to them, if you don't pay us $1,000 per room per night for the racetrack, we'll make our floodlights face the balcony.
Yep.
Which I don't know if that's legal, but apparently this happened.
Is it illegal? Like, I guess what laws are you breaking, right?
I
But,
guess it's
yeah.
their show.
It was people that missed out on tickets, and they were like, "Here's a way of getting myself a view of the track." But
Yeah, and I heard
wild.
tickets were going for, up to $40,000.
people pay a ridiculous amount. Some of the resale Taylor Swift tickets out there, actually, Tixell is getting really good at this now. There's like websites that you can rebuy tickets through that cap prices so that people can't just go pay me $5,000 for my Taylor Swift ticket. Talking about that Swiftlation and how much it affects around the shows, something I thought was really, really interesting. And two examples of this. We were chatting earlier in the week about Paramore, who, if you don't know Paramore, one of the biggest emo bands of all time, incredible band. Last time I saw them in Sydney, they performed to about 10,000 people. And this time they sold out their biggest headline show of all time, which I want to say was 25,000 people. And I think so much of that came down to the fact that tickets came on sale the week after Taylor Swift did. And everyone went, tickets to these shows sell out. I want this show experience that everyone's talking about. I'll go to Paramore.
Right.
They opened for Taylor Swift on a couple of shows in the US as well. And I think that.
So
blew it
she's
up
rising
massively.
the tide for all.
Yeah, everyone else. I'm
Yeah.
actually tonight. I'm going to see Gracie Abrams, which is JJ Abrams' daughter.
Whoa.
She's
I
a
know you.
musician as well.
Cool.
And she opened for Taylor Swift recently on the Eras tour in the States.
Yeah.
And so my partner started listening to her when, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And back then she was a very small artist. She had the name of it's JJ Abrams' daughter, but as far as her own music goes, I would say if she came here, she would have performed to 500 people at the time.
Yeah.
When we bought the tickets to this show, it was at the Enmore Theatre, which is 2,200 cap. Since then, it's been upgraded to 2 nights at the Hordern, which is, I want to say, a 6,000 cap venue. So she went from 2,200 people to 12,000 people in Sydney, and it's her first ever Sydney show,
Okay. All right. So then
which comes down to Taylor Swift.
like if we come back to this diagram here, would you say like this also applies to the industry of live events? It's
Yeah.
almost like Taylor Swift has reignited the live event space.
Yeah.
Because if you think about during COVID, for 2 years, you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't see anyone, you couldn't see anything.
Right.
Then there was a bit of a drip crawl back.
Yeah.
Now she's touring and she's selling out everything she hits. And it's now got musicians thinking, oh man, maybe I should get back in the scene. Like, what do you think's happening psychologically to the music space and to people that love attending live events?
I think it's partly the FOMO thing in that so many people talking about Taylor Swift that everyone's like, oh damn, if I'm not there, that's an experience I'm missing out on that everyone's going to talk about, which then domino effects to the live events everywhere else, right? People go, okay, that's how I would feel about missing a Taylor Swift show. Maybe I'd feel the same about missing this Gracie Abrams show. Like I need to, to do that as well. But I think nostalgia post-COVID is a big thing. People spent 3 or 4 years locked up in their house doing nothing. and then just crave that feeling of let's go back to how we were before.
Yeah.
Like my old band did a reunion mostly because of that, right? We had traction pre-COVID. We split up as a band. COVID happened. Everyone went, we want things to be the way they were before. So we went, okay, well, let's come back with that band and pretend it's 2010 again. I think there's so many cases in the world of, definitely reigniting things that were big 10, 15 years ago just for that feeling that people are missing.
I think FOMO has gotten a lot stronger as well since COVID because there was 2 solid years of everyone missing out.
Yeah.
So the mentality, I guess, has changed a lot more to just do rather than waiting for something to happen. Just do it while you can.
Right.
What impact would you guys say social media has had on that? Because like, did FOMO exist in the 60s when people didn't have social media?
Yes, it did.
I think so.
It's just called jealousy.
Yes, it did because you heard the gossip. It was more like the round the water cooler. Oh, did you go to Grace's dinner party?
Yeah.
It's like, no. Did you hear what happened? Like that.
So
I
it was
think
probably
that's
just
universal.
a much smaller scale, though.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I would just say it like as an enigma, it operates differently, right? So like if you think about the sheer velocity and speed of social media, right? Like if you say, okay, like we were talking about how she intentionally markets, right? Talking about Taylor Swift, she will pop up at a wedding or someone's birthday party.
Yep.
And that's like, you know, you could say a part of her loves the fans and that's cool, but another part of her is like, oh, this is building me as an archetype. Like if I'm the kind of person who shows up at a wedding as a gift or shows up at someone's birthday party just to delight them, you're kind of branding yourself as a type of person, right?
Yeah.
And I would say like tactically and marketing wise, she's doing that. But when she does these things, within a day, the whole world knows, oh, Taylor Swift sang at this wedding.
Yeah.
Like the sheer velocity and speed of like information getting out to the world is like immediate. But if you go back to the 60s, it would have been a publisher, a radio station, or maybe a newspaper.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine with Elvis became like this sensational thing where everyone had to get tickets when he would go to a town, and there would be disputes over the church of whether he should be allowed in that. Like it was crazy.
Didn't
Like
he get arrested on stage for thrusting?
Yeah.
For shaking his hips?
Inappropriateness.
Yeah,
it was
the
told.
devil's dance, right?
Yeah, the devil's music, right?
Yeah.
But I think FOMO's always been there, but I think it's just the speed of the internet. And I think it's
The
really
circle's bigger. It's
Yeah.
gone from your immediate people to like
Anyone.
to community to like kind of country
Yeah.
to like world effectively.
I saw a TikTok of a guy. I don't know if you can find this, but there's a TikTok of is that the birthday party she went to? Or-
This is just a picture she rocked up to a superfan's house uninvited with a
Imagine
gift.
Taylor Swift just shows up at your door. You're like, hello?
Yeah.
Imagine if you were dressed inappropriately and you're just like,
Right?
like I'm so embarrassed.
You're like,
Imagine
this
if
is
you're
the
somebody that didn't answer the door, you're just like, oh, it's probably just door
yeah.
knockers.
Spam. Go away.
you're like coming down the hallway,
Set
like
the dogs
"Wow."
on them.
You're like listening to music that's not hers and you're like, I'm so embarrassed.
I reckon people might even pass out. You know, if you open the door and you're like, oh my god, it's Taylor Swift.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Would you even would you recognize her? I don't know. A lot of people I see online and then they turn up and I'm like, you don't look like that. So
I feel like Taylor Swift is
I
very
reckon you'd
recognizable.
recognize, but there'd be like a lag.
yeah,
a
you'd be
brain
like,
lag of
I think no.
I know this
Yeah.
person.
No, impersonator.
You have that moment where you're like, hi, how are you? What could I? And then like 5 seconds later, you're like, hang on a second, that's Taylor Swift.
The-
Like that's
like
the
this
real
is
one.
actually Taylor Swift.
That
Like
happened
that
to
Adele
me.
audition video.
I feel like people that famous have an energy about them though. I don't
Yeah.
know who's the most famous person you've ever met.
The most famous person I've ever like talked in a conversation and hung out with is Andrew Schultz.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm a fan of his comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I love his performances. And I remember, because I know Mark Cagnon and his team, and you know, myself and Mark have talked a bunch of times. Andrew was coming to Australia and he's like, come and meet me in the green room. And I was like, cool, dope. I'm going to meet Andrew. Went into the green room and it was just a weird thing where it's like you've followed this person for years and now they're in the flesh and your brain just doesn't know how to process it. It's like, I know so much about you, but we've never interacted. So your
It's weird,
brain's
right? It's not a two-way street. You're like, I'm a stranger to you.
There's so
but,
much
yeah.
admiration on my side of the fence
Yeah.
for
But
you,
you
but
know
then
so much about
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
but Andrew's just like, hey, what's up, dude? You know,
Did
like,
you feel like, even though he was casual with you in that
Yeah.
sense, do you feel like there's this air of like this person's a celebrity? Because I feel like
Yeah.
if Taylor Swift rocked up at your door, you'd be like, I sense the energy of someone
Yeah.
with influence. Right?
I would say, you know, like, I don't know, Taylor Swift, I feel like she's on a whole nother level of fame, right? She's like, you know, Michael Jackson famous, but like when I was in person, there is this aura of like, you know, because he just got off stage from 10,000, speaking in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you know, he just has his energy. He walks in the room. He's really loving and kind and saying hello to everyone. but his whole team are like coordinating his world around him. So there's just this buzz of energy around these people. And I imagine Taylor Swift has a giant entourage of people that are constantly managing her life and helping her travel and all the rest of it. Like how much of that aura of fame is like people kind of playing a giant role in your life all the time? You know what I mean? Like it's
like
not
this
a
perception when there's people working for you.
it's
and
not a
people around
normal
you.
thing, man. Like I had it when I went to Mexico and I got off the plane and I was, speaking at an event, and it was, they would put me on as a headline speaker, and I got off the plane and there were people like waving like a printed sign with my face and my name on it, and people were walking past like, that's the guy that's on the sign.
weird,
That's weird.
right? Yeah.
It was just weird. And then they're like, we've got this van for you. Do you want something to drink? Do you want something? They were just pampering me.
Yeah.
I felt like, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to kind of be like a celebrity, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, not saying I am, but it was just odd. And I'm just trying to figure like,
Do
when
you think
that's
your aura changed because of it?
I definitely felt more confident.
Yeah.
I definitely felt odd. I felt I felt like me, but I felt like it felt uncomfortable because it wasn't something I'd experienced.
Yeah.
It's like when you drive the first time, you're like
Yeah.
overthinking everything you're doing. Like think about it, like you've been driving for 2 years. You're like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm turning at an intersection, put my blinker on, whatever else. Like it just becomes unconscious. But when you're first driving, you're over analyzing and overthinking about everything.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. I was over analyzing these people. Who are they? Why are they trying to do nice things? Your brain's just an overwhelm.
Yeah.
But after the third day of it kind of started to kind of sink into the background. But I was like, if that's been your life for 14 years, like, is that what creates this aura of confidence or this sense of celebrity? I don't know.
Or do you put that on them knowing how much you know about them?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
maybe.
good question.
I feel like maybe it's people put it on them.
I feel like it comes down to this world building thing, right? If you've got this world built around you where there's cameras and there's fans, there's cameras, there's paparazzi, there's a crew of people around you, it almost becomes easy to act as a celebrity per se. That's why people are like celebrities are arrogant. It's like, well, no, that's just the world that's built around them. That's just what they do.
Yeah, because it's almost like someone does your dry cleaning, someone cleans your house, someone drives you somewhere. Like you don't manage your life the way a normal person would manage their life.
I'm going to coin a new term here. Let's see if this latches on.
Right.
But hear me out. I have somewhere I'm going with this.
I'm not being defensive. Go for it, man.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, go
okay,
for it,
I'm
yeah.
going to call it the horror movie theory. I've spoken about...
This is a bit dramatic.
So this is now you're like, where the fuck is he going?
Yeah, I
with this?
like it there. It's
So-
got a punch to it. Go.
Have you ever walked through one of those walk-through horror mazes where there's actors in there that are made to scare you?
Yeah, I did the Walking Dead one, and people like jumping out and grabbing me and shit. It's
And you
crazy.
know they're actors,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know you're safe. You're not
And
gonna
people are
get hurt.
chasing you down the street with chainsaws and stuff. It was fun.
But does it scare the shit out of you? Does a small part of you go, oh shit, there's someone jumping out?
It's like your flight or flight senses are a little unnerved.
Yeah.
But you're trying to override it because you're like, no, I know it's a thing.
So I've noticed that a lot of actors get their breakthrough horror movies. And I remember having that thought after doing one of those walkthrough mazes. I was like, it would be easy to act in a horror movie because even though you know that man with the chainsaw is not actually going to kill you, you're like, that's terrifying. Like if I'm running away from a man wielding a chainsaw in the bushes and being told, hey, act and scream, the second you're there and it's dark and there's smoke and you don't know where it's coming from when you're hearing the noise of a chainsaw wheeling, you're like, yeah, actually, that's pretty freaking scary. Like, and I think it's that world building thing of even though you know it's fake, you just immerse yourself in it because it's just surrounds you. And I think that applies to the celebrity thing too, is if this world of being a celebrity surrounds you, it's easy to just fall into, okay, this feels like what I'm doing now.
All right, well, let's unpack world building and archetypes because they're kind of the same thing, right? So like if you look at Taylor Swift, Emma, like, we're always working on what is an archetype for a personal brand. We're constantly building personal brands together. And for those of you listening, if you're like, what the hell are they talking about? A brand archetype is what, there's 68 different...
There's 36. So there's 12 main ones and then they break down into like sub ones.
Right, okay.
And it's based off Carl Jung, his theory on... He's a psychologist, and his theory on there being universal characters that can define people. So there's universal traits that you can classify people by. An example, if I say someone acted like a hero, you know instinctively what a hero is, how they act, what they value. If I say sage or magician, you instinctively again go, Yeah, I know that. That's a gut feel thing. I don't have to think about that. I just understand it.
Right.
So archetypes are based on a theory that there are universal characteristics that people just understand.
Right. So it's like when you're at like and we share this example sometimes, like when you're at a family event and there's like 50 relatives.
Yep.
You're like, okay, that's the cheeky uncle.
Yep.
That's the loving
jester.
auntie.
Yep.
That's the
The
rascal
caregiver.
naughty cousin.
Yep.
You know,
The
like
rebel.
you put these labels. Yeah, you did that so quickly, right? So if you pull it up on the screen here, this is like a simple version of it. But essentially, like there's these different archetypical ideologies of how someone acts and operates. And the 4 quadrants are someone who provides order and structure to the world, someone who creates freedom, someone who leaves a mark on the world, and someone who creates a reason to interconnect, right? So if you go around the wheel, you know, let's just say a hero archetype, I just think of Will Smith in I Am Legend, kind of hero-esque archetype, right? But then if you think about the jester, you think about Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool, right? So like, what would Taylor Swift be? Like, what do you think her archetype is, and what kind of world do you think she's building with her personal brands?
I think it's changed from cycle to cycle. Talking about all of these rebrands, I think every album cycle has had a different archetype. I mean, she has an album called Lover, I would say. That was the Lover
Interesting.
archetype, right? That was the part of her life where it was like, okay, now it's a different love. We were talking about teenage love and chasing a guy in high school. and
Yeah,
now
her
it's
teenage ones, I would say, was when she was the innocent archetype.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I think
she
she has a
started
song
as
called Innocent as well.
Yeah.
Maybe this is all conscious. We're talking about this subconscious archetype. Maybe she's like sat down for a marketing
And just
meeting.
been like,
she's
this
like,
is what I'm doing.
we're going to be the
she's just
innocent.
moving
We're
around the
gonna be
whole wheel.
sage.
She's like, I'm going to get the whole
Yeah.
world, man. I'm going to act every one of these.
Yeah.
So what with her first album,
Uh-huh.
what do you think like go through the stages? Like what archetypes do you think she's moved through?
So we had what we say the innocent for the early
Innocent,
ones?
I'd say. Yeah, for self-titled.
Dreamer. I think when we were talking about that positive manifestation and like breaking out of a small town, I would say that sort of.
So she was innocent. Now she's
Yeah.
dreaming about her future,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then where do we go to? Red. What would you say Red was? There was a bit of the lover in that, I think. I can't read all of these on the screen. What are we looking at?
Which was the one where she was like being defiant and she was like
Reputation.
Reputation.
2017. That was when she was like, I'm going to take control of my own reputation now.
Yeah, that was rebel hardcore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hardcore rebel. for
right,
sure.
anti-system. I'll do it my way.
It was like if
energy.
the media is going to say this about me, I'm just going to own it. Like if that's what you want to think about me, that's my
So
narrative.
she's no
I'll
longer
tell that
playing
narrative.
the innocent role.
No,
Yeah.
which is totally different to where she started, right?
Yeah. She's very much like moved around the wheel.
But
And
that
then
album was huge. Like people latched onto that.
where would you say she is now?
The Sage, maybe? Caregiver Sage? I don't know. She's got this like calming presence now.
She does. It's a bit more mature.
Yeah.
Like she's hit maturity. It's like every teenager goes through their rebel years, right? So
Yeah,
she's
it's coming back to that growing with the audience, right? Like
Right.
Reputation was when people were a little bit older. They're like, I'm going to decide who I want to be. This is
Yeah.
my story to tell.
And she's dating that guy now in the NFL. I forget his name.
Travis Kelce, I want to
Travis
say.
Kelce. Right.
Yeah. And it's a whole thing. I'm talking back to the influence that she has on the world, right? The amount of people that
Yeah,
are buying
I was
tickets to shows to see her.
Reading about something like people were upset about the Super Bowl or not being able to get tickets to the game because it
Right.
like something about like people going
Yeah.
to the game just to watch Taylor Swift
Yeah.
in the stands versus watching the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. I guess, yeah. If you told someone 10 years ago that people were buying tickets to the NFL to see Taylor Swift, you'd be like,
Yeah.
what? Like,
That'd be
How does
so
that
much
work?
pressure though, because I can understand like there'd be a certain level of fame where it's my second to become annoying. It's like people are criticizing her for,
Yeah.
you know, what's happening in the NFL and like why they're buying this guy's jerseys and this guy's careers.
Conspiracy theories. If you get so famous that people
Yeah.
start building conspiracy theories
Right.
about you, you've broken the ceiling.
Like Elvis is out there, he's still alive. you know.
100%.
Avril Lavigne's dead.
No, she was cloned.
Yeah. She died.
She
and
died
she
and
was cloned.
she was cloned.
She died and she was cloned.
She's got a
Really?
mole
Is
in a
that a
different
thing?
place. Look it
I
up. It's a
didn't know
thing.
If you
that
ever get
one.
bored one night and you've got 3 hours
Look
to
this
kill,
up.
I watched a 3-hour video on it.
3 hours.
Yeah,
You
purely
didn't.
for I watched it for a joke. I was like, this is hilarious. And by the end of it, I was like, Avril Lavigne's dead.
Wait,
Facts.
what
It's not
what
conspiracy
percentage of yourself
anymore.
was like, maybe she was cloned?
100%.
Really?
100% of me was like, that's it.
What
She's
about
cloned.
now? Is it dropped back down or are you still at 100?
Look, I'm amused by the prospect of thinking that.
Okay, Avril Lavigne.
It's more amusing to me to
this
just
is a
believe
real
that she's
thing,
dead.
man.
Yeah.
Avril
It's a whole thing.
Lavigne conspiracy theory rise in popularity.
Oh, it goes deep.
My favorite thing though, this was the best part, right? It was like a 3-hour video.
Yeah.
And 2 hours and 59 minutes of it is this like proper legit evidence per se, where like you could fully buy into it. And then
Yeah.
at the end, the mic drop is, and Avril Lavigne once stated that she hated Nickelback, and 3 years later, she married Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. The real Avril would never. And I was like, that's it, done.
Dude, that's how you end the set, bro. That's wild, man. What
That's
about
so
the
funny.
Elvis one? Do you think Elvis got away? Do you
I
think
haven't heard that one.
there's a theory that he just got overwhelmed, he was done with it, and he was just like, I can make more money just being dead.
Wow.
Nah,
feel like
I
that's
think
like
he
a-
died. I watched the
We're-
movie. It was so sad. I
It's
think
so
he-
sad.
It
Yeah.
is. It
Unless
is.
he produced it. Yeah.
Starting a new conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is
If
the
he produced it, I
conspiracy
think he
theory
would have
pod.
put himself in a better light. It was not
It
flattering.
was
Yeah, no,
rough.
it
The
was.
first half, I was like, I feel like I'm on an acid trip. Like, this is the weirdest movie. And then
It
the
was an
ending,
acid trip.
the ending was like, oh man, this is rough. Like, I just wanted to
The
do well.
Priscilla
You
Like,
know?
come
movie's
on,
coming out
break
soon
free.
too, like
Yeah.
Priscilla's side of the story. I'm intrigued about that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is it going to be the same actors?
No, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it's different producer, different story. But I'm intrigued. I don't think he's going to be painted in a very good light.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
back-
nervous. We have like pictures of Elvis in my house. I'm like, am I going to have to take these down? Like, they're very aesthetically pleasing in my house. I like
Yeah.
the vibe, but I don't know.
Well, let's not go into that. That's another rabbit hole. But so I guess to end this Taylor Swift saga, like, what's the world she's building, right? If she's hit maturity and she's playing this more caring, I'm here to do good in the world character, and she's kind of built this fandom and she's hit maybe mass market, you know what I mean? What do you think is the world she's trying to build, and like, how does someone go beyond this level of career? Like, it feels like every step she takes from this point is like gonna really not box her in, but it's like every step is more crucial than ever.
Can you go beyond? Can you be more famous than what Taylor
That's what I'm
Swift is
saying.
now?
Like,
No.
it's like she's hit.
I think she can't. I think she's
I reckon
just got
she'll
to do what
pivot.
she wants to do
Yeah.
at this point.
Right.
She'll
And
pivot
just-
into production, into movies,
Yeah.
into like other music,
She'll
bringing
step-
up other artists.
She'll step into another medium.
Yeah, into
Right.
another role potentially even, because I think that you've
Starts
seen
a
that
K-pop
with
band.
I don't think
I
we
think
can
sick.
do that.
I don't know. I think it'd be sick, man. K-pop's lit. I
A-pop,
love it.
American pop.
Yeah. I was going to say, that
A-pop.
makes it A-pop, right?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about like some of the tactics she uses in her marketing is, what would you say, inspired by J-pop and K-pop? Like she's like her albums, you can collect different editions of her albums. And I was looking at, I can't remember what it was. Em, who's on our team here, she's a designer. She's way into K-pop, and she was explaining to me that one of the boy bands that she follows,
Astro, probably.
I don't know, they drop albums.
Loves Astro.
And there's like 25 guys in the band. And like every time you buy an album, you get 3 cards. And everyone's
Yeah,
buying
yeah.
like 80, 90 versions of the album
just to collect them all.
just to collect all the cards.
Pokemon. Got to catch them all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Smart marketing. One fan, 90 album sales, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Taylor Swift does it too. She's re-releasing all of her old albums at the moment, and each time she drops a new one, it's like one day only. You can get this colored vinyl, so people don't have that time to go away and think about it and make a financial decision. They just go instinctively, I must have that. So
what's that band you just had up?
Oh, it's every band.
Okay.
Every
Yeah,
single
it's a whole
K-pop band has their own merch line, but it doesn't go to just T-shirts and like CDs.
yeah.
Most of the time, it's books, cards.
They have the light
like,
stick.
photos.
What do you
People
talk
buy
about?
them at the show
Routines.
to like have them like, you know, where people pull up like their lighter or their phone
Right.
light at K-pop shows. They
They
all have
look
the
like
light
this.
stick.
And each
Yeah.
band has its different one.
I've got
Yeah.
one of these for
My
the
gosh,
Wiggles
it-
for my kids.
Reminds me of
You, like,
Sailor
press a
Moon.
button and
Wiggles
it
tapped into
spins.
it. Oh, that's so
Like I think the hammer is black pink or something.
It's black and pink. That would
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
Wait, so every
like
every
a gap.
Aptly
tour,
branded.
No, every artist has their own specific shaped one.
Yeah.
So, and they cost like 50, 60 bucks.
Yeah, I
People
paid-
go in and the entire crowd will have them.
Wow, this is giving me Sailor Moon vibes, and I want to jump in on
Whoa.
it.
This is the proof of like how branding is culturally relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you would market yourself in Japan or in Korea or in the US
Totally different.
seems like a totally different system.
We had a call with a client yesterday who has a lot of their marketing is based in Western countries, and then a lot of it's based in China, and it's
Right.
just totally different approaches both sides.
In what way?
Visually, as far as they're like the fonts don't have to match the colors. People respond to colors differently. You know, the hierarchy is different. They want to know X over this.
Right. But I guess back to the Swift conversation, just to keep the steering the ship in that world building side of things. Like when you look at Taylor Swift and like what's happening in Asia, we were talking about like the difference of the marketing in the US and like what's happening with K-pop and J-pop.
The thing I found interesting, a lot of them, and I don't know if this is still the case, a lot of them shuffle through members. So we were talking about Baby Metal earlier in the week. And they came up through, it was actually branded as the school. When I say school here, it wasn't a school for K-pop. It was like a group put together that was called the school, where as part of that larger group, they had different branded sections. So it was
like 50
the math geeks
people.
and stuff. And
Right.
yeah, and it was like one big K-pop group that had their own individual, J-pop, I believe, and they had their own individual sectors in that. But what I found really interesting is
Like the
they
jocks, the nerds, like the different.
yeah.
And Baby Metal was like the
Baby
rock.
Metal was like the metal kids in the school, and then people loved that. So
This
then
is a television show.
It was a television show that made music. So most of the time, it's an idol rather than like, this is a musician.
Yeah.
This is an actor. It's an idol, which is a celebrity that does music and acting and TV appearances, interviews,
Right.
has like a talk show. They can do anything.
But they would build a brand around these individual groups, and there was like an age limit of once you reach a certain age, you no longer fit the brand, and they would cycle out members. So I think it was only the recent lineup of Baby Metal that blew up, where they went, okay, we're going to now ignore the age limit thing because these girls are so popular, and they've built it to what it is.
Yeah.
But before then, they were cycling through members because I think it might have been 21. I think they turned 21, and they were like, "You're too old to do this now.
Jeez,
Let's swap
man.
it out."
Specifically with Baby Metal, one of the members left. They were quite big already, but one
Right.
of the members left. And rather than replacing her specifically, they went, we're going to have 5 girls that we just swap in and out when we
Right. Wow.
You'd be pissed if you didn't make it. You'd be like that Spice Girl that never made the cut. Okay, so like, it's interesting when, if you look at the rise of K-pop, it's starting to influence other markets. It's spreading its wings outside of the Asia Pacific market into the US, into Europe, into Australia, and it's how much of the music space do you see being influenced by how they market overseas to people are on TikTok now, people are trying to, I don't know, the band thing seems to be coming back to music where it became about the solo artist. Now it's about groups again. Yeah.
I think there was a long period where, back in the day, YouTube was huge. It was always about music videos and what they were wearing. And then there was this long period where it was like, Spotify's the thing. We don't have to see people singing. Like how many artists had people listen to on Spotify and they could walk past that artist in the street and have no idea that they listen to them sing every day, right? I think K-pop and J-pop has brought back that world building where it's like Kate was saying, it's the whole idol factor. It's not just, this person's not just a singer.
Yeah.
They're an idol. You're grown to, you love their personality, you love their dance moves, you love what they wear, you love how they style the music videos, you love the whole world that they fit within. And I think we're seeing more and more of that coming through now.
Okay.
You touched on The Weeknd earlier, and you look at all of The Weeknd's new graphics where it's like, it's this world building. We're telling a story through music videos from the
Has he got a
album.
new brand?
Yeah.
Can we pull it
definitely.
up? I just remember the crazy hair. This is, correct me here, Luke, because I know you know a lot more. I love his music, and he had the crazy hair where he was on the stage and he was kind of like a nobody in the video. Then I just remember seeing stuff where he was like doing stuff like a bit more futuristic with Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Then he was kind of the bad boy in a jacket. Then there was this character.
This was iconic. I loved this. And
This
there
was
the
really
music
cool.
video where he gets like beat up in Vegas and he runs through, and it's like this trippy,
Dude, what
But
was
it's
this?
very immersive.
This? Because I remember it just visually was so striking.
This
and
is
remember.
nostalgia coming back to that cycle of people like things that are old. This was, I would argue that this was the first song in many, many, many years that was reminiscent of 80s pop that made it huge on the radio.
But I guess it was also at a time where that like vaporwave synth was really, really prevalent.
But he brought it back, I think. He brought it to mainstream. There was, I was in a synth pop band, still am, that was wearing red suits and doing this, and then he came and did this and made
Go on, man, give it a
mainstream, and
plug.
now
Plug it in.
yeah. Well, no, he jacked our brand. That's what I'm saying.
This
This is my whole avenue here. I'm just
Send him
pivoting
an
it to say that The Weeknd stole our brand.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is there was this subculture and this scene that existed around 80s synthwave and stuff,
Right.
but he's brought it back to the mainstream, and it was that nostalgia thing. All of a sudden, an artist that had mainstream recognition that people knew of did that, and people were like, yeah, I feel something. Like this is making me feel the way I felt as a kid. And this is, I feel like I'm going back in time. And it was that world building thing that for so long people didn't care about because they were just listening to music and not watching the visuals.
Right.
And I think, the K-pop and the J-pop scenes have made that much more predominant within the industry.
Yeah. Like even if you look at like famous brands like Supreme with James Jabaya, he was inspired by how Japan did limited edition exclusive drops of different items. And then I remember I saw this recently where like big retailers were going to Supreme because they were blowing up. I don't know if you want to pull up some of the stats when they opened their first store, but people were lining up down the street. They were on television. Like they created this FOMO of like, if I don't go and line up the day before, I'm going to miss out, right? And everyone wanted to get, look at this lineup. This
People
is crazy.
sell their spots in line as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. People
That's
would queue up
crazy.
overnight, and then the next morning people would come. They'll be like, "You can have my spot for $1,000." And people would be like, "Yeah, okay."
It's like the Mark Riviere video.
Cash
Oh, I
only.
saw that. Yeah, where he was like
the first
third
iPhone.
he was third in line for the first iPhone.
Yeah.
And what happened?
He was
It's
third in
hilarious.
line for the first iPhone, and a lady came up with like stacks of cash, and she's like, "Can I buy your spot?" Because she wanted to buy hundreds
Right.
to resell. And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And his friend was with him, just waiting,
Yeah.
just being a friend, just hanging out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, sure." Like, took $1,000, I think, from her for the spot. The lady got to the front of the line, and they're like, one max per customer. And his friend that was with him
Yeah.
wasn't buying an iPhone.
So he got one for him anyway.
So he just stood behind
that's
her
good,
and just
man.
like, cool.
Yeah. And so
He won at life that day. That lady just bought him an iPhone.
yeah. So I think this is what's interesting about marketing, right? Is if you can figure out a way to build additional line extensions around your main product. So like, for example, Taylor Swift is like, here's my album, but you can get this exclusive color limited edition for today only.
Yep.
And like, I see this happening a lot with musicians with merch and tickets and all the rest of it. There's this exclusivity FOMO component that drives additional revenue, whether it was Elvis selling Christmas sweaters or like all that other crap he was selling in the movie, making snow. It's a movie reference. But like, how much of like what happened with Supreme is like world building for Taylor Swift and these personal brands, right? Because when I look at Supreme, I see this alternative world, this alternative way of using fashion. It's not just a standard retail shop where I can always buy it. It's limited. And like to the point where people were offering James Jabaya $20 million to retail his product in their stores. And he's just like, nah.
Yep.
He's like, this is how I do it. Yeah.
I remember we spoke about it internally a while ago with some of the projects we were working on, where it comes back to that status thing. There's certain reasons that people will spend money on a product and spend money on a brand. And you posted it on your Instagram story. Was it yesterday? I think the Prada paperclip earring.
Right.
Where it's literally
$400. Pull it up, man. That's crazy.
It's a paperclip with the Prada logo on it.
Perceived value.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I saw another one too.
it comes down to that status thing, right? People see it and they're like, "Oh, he's got that." Like they're wearing the Prada earring, and I think it's a similar thing where people, when it's got that exclusivity to it, it's that status of, I'm a true Taylor Swift fan because I own every color of her record. So it's instantly you're going to purchase something because you're driven by that need for the status and that need to be part of the 1%.
Look at this. Prada selling an engraved paperclip for $400. Is this real? Like, can I buy this?
Yeah.
Because I shared it and I was like, this is crazy, dude.
Yeah, you can buy that.
People are buying these just to go, yeah, I bought one.
Would you buy it?
I kind of was tempted. Here's
It works.
why. Here's why. I was going to be like,
Wait, is it for pierced ears? Does that mean
I don't know.
we're going to
Is it an
invite a
earring?
new look?
It
Like,
actually might just be a paperclip.
if it's just a $400
It's
paperclip.
chunky. That would be like tough to fit in your ear.
You know what? I did that. I had a very short-lived phase where I bought one of those giant, chunky Louis Vuitton padlock necklaces. It was the padlocks that you got on the bags, and people started making necklaces out of them.
Yeah.
And I bought one, and I was like, sick. This is, again, it's a status thing. I was like, I'm wearing one of the Louis Vuitton things. That thing was so heavy and uncomfortable. I think I wore it once, and I was like, ow, my neck hurts. Like, I'm not going to wear this
you
anymore.
bend over and they smash
Yeah.
your teeth. And
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like, never
You're
again.
like, not happening.
Yeah.
Don't love
Right.
it.
So, like, how much of this is like them genuinely trying to hit headlines? Because if I was Prada right now, I'm like, hey, how do we get in the press for something ridiculous?
Yeah.
Paperclip jewelry is a thing. It's a current sub-trend on Insta.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're tapping
Paperclip
into something
jewelry,
else.
capsule jewelry that looks like pills and tablets is like taken off. So
it's definitely a trend.
they're
Wait,
jumping on a
educate me.
trend.
I've not even heard of this. What are you talking about? What trend?
Yeah, it's just a trend, like, because jewelry, like everything else, goes through cycles and trends. The current thing is chunky and like lifestyle objects turned into jewelry. So paper clips and
Safety pins.
And like tablets, like capsules is a big thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So they're magnifying a trend.
The other one I saw.
How many people do you think will regret buying the paperclip?
100% of them.
No one in
don't
10
know,
years is
man.
going to be like, my best purchase ever. You know what I have? I have a paperclip.
I reckon
I
if you're
wanted to-
buying the clip, you have no regrets already. It's your money.
You've got too much
person-
money
Yeah,
to have
sure.
regrets.
You don't deserve money. I was gonna buy it because I was like gonna make a piece of content out of it. I'm like this, but anyway, this is crazy.
Tax deductible.
Can we Photoshop the logo onto a normal paperclip instead and save you the $400 US?
What we should do is we should do our own paperclip and just see if we can sell one, and like be like
As
it's
an
a
experiment.
$500 paperclip. No, look this up. This is even crazier. So I don't know if this was a response to the paperclip thing, but type in Louis Vuitton sandwich bag. You seen this? This is
ringing a bell.
this
but
is dumb.
I'm intrigued.
This is stupid.
I love me a good sandwich bag, so I am also intrigued.
I was like, oh my
I
butt.
love me a good sandwich
Oh,
bag.
I would buy
Yeah.
that.
Look at
over
this.
the
Okay.
Designer sandwich
Let's
bags
read the
is
copy.
also a thing.
Oh, this
Look
is
at
sick.
that.
Yeah, no, I have seen
That's
this.
sick.
Yeah.
Luke's like, that's fire.
I'll have it. That's mad. That's so sick.
Due
It
to a
is.
high demand, your product will be shipped in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
That's so sick.
So they've
I
had.
also love that jacket.
I
Wait, how much
saw-
is it retailing for?
5,200
Is that-
Oz.
Wait, what? Is that a
Wow.
joke?
No, this is
It's
for real.
leather, right?
This is a leather lunch bag
Yeah.
made by Louis Vuitton.
It's quite big.
Yeah.
It's got no
is.
handle.
Look at the model.
That's
though.
the only thing
not
that would have.
practical.
Yeah. If this had a handle, $5,000. I'm there.
I wanted to be. I would pay to be in the room when they have these conversations.
Yeah. They're like, what
Like,
if
how
we
do they
did
choose the
this?
model, the outfit he's gonna wear? Like, they're like, yeah, you know what it is? It's the next
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It's a fucking lunch bag, and we're gonna make it orange, and we're gonna sell the shit out of it, and we're gonna show.
Well, they
Slides and
own that
socks.
orange, right? You see people walking down the street with that, and you know it's Louis Vuitton.
I think you know what this is. People are buying that to flex and to make fun of things, and content creators like it's almost like. Would you say the trend right now is it's a little bit ridiculous?
Oh, yeah. This futuristic, chunky, impractical fantasy element is coming through strongly.
Right.
So we're moving from nostalgia into futuristic, where people are going, have you guys seen the Astro boots?
I was
No.
going to say that.
Oh,
They're
the
the red
red
ones,
ones?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
red
I tried
ones.
to get them in Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah. there's a-
Okay, is it
Yeah.
futuristic or is it ridiculous or is it I have
It's
things
both,
that are unnecessary, but it's I'm gonna rep it and make it cool.
I think there's a part of the comedy of buying something so ridiculously stupid, at least with a lot of the
It's like the
influencers
irony
I
in it,
watch.
right?
Yeah.
Like I know a streamer that just bought, I think it was like a $50,000 ape statue made out of bronze because it had massive testicles. And that was the only reason he bought it.
Wow.
And it's like,
It's kitsch.
it's probably like
Kitsch is
3
coming
meters.
back. I
What's
learned this
kitsch?
word recently,
Yeah.
and I fucking
Love
love this
kitsch.
word.
Let me
It's
Google
so
that
good.
real quick. What does that mean?
Yeah, get a proper definition up. It's essentially
it's like so cheesy and cringe, it's cool.
yeah.
Oh, it's like a combination.
It's like wearing a Christmas sweater for fashion, right? Where you're like, this is so ugly that it's good. I
Yeah.
know that I'm wearing this ironically and I love it.
So kitsch is in. So something of tawdry.
Worthless, trashy art. That's one way to
Well,
put
it's a
it.
different definition. Let's compare definitions. This definition is something of tawdry design, appearance, or content created to appeal to popular or undiscriminating taste.
So this is saying it comes from a German word, which means worthless, trashy art.
I like this definition more,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, kitsch. So like you get something, you know it's weird and stupid. I have a tattoo of Ryan Gosling playing the guitar. Kitsch.
Right. Okay.
It's so dumb that it's good.
It's a head scratcher, and people are like,
yeah.
"That's cool, man."
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
And
I
it's a
think it's
conversation
the-
starter. People are like, is that Ryan Gosling playing the guitar? I'm like, sure is.
Right.
They're
Well,
like,
is that-
why? I'm like, why not?
Is that shirt kitsch? What are you wearing right now?
It's vintage. Yeah,
Nice.
this was a
Super
90s horror movie.
I'm just excited for Luke's kitsch phase whenever that starts. Okay, so all right, so let's bring it home with Tay Tay. Like, if she's world building, what world is she building, and like, what can people take away from this? Like, if you know, if I'm building a brand, I'm a creator, I'm trying to get known. Like, how do I apply this to myself and my personal brands?
For me, it would be don't be afraid to pivot. it would be this concept that if she built this world in 2006 with her first album and it was incredible and it did so well, if she stuck within that world, she would not be where she is now. There were so many points in her career where she had to pivot that, she had to rebrand, she had to grow with people, and that's what's made her so successful. So I would say the takeaway is if you run a business or a personal brand, if you've ever had something that you're consciously branding and you find yourself attached to the way the branding looks, and it feels like deep down you're like, something's pushing me to change this, but am I going to lose trust by doing it? Don't be afraid to take the leap. Often it's a take one step back to take 10 steps forward sort of thing.
Yeah. No, well said.
Yeah. And I would say be authentic and back yourself. So be intentional in the world you're building.
Right.
Go along with that vision, like explore it and deploy it, like back yourself.
Yeah, I heard something, I don't know where I heard this recently, but it really stuck in my mind, and it was for stand-up comedians. And every time a comedian goes up on stage, the term in the industry is like every time you go on in front of a new audience, you take another brick out of the wall.
Right.
And I think if I look at my personal brand and how it's shifted from teaching Instagram to learning about branding to teaching branding, I would even debate that I'm kind of going through a bit of an evolution at this point in time where I'm an author of a book, I'm speaking at live events, I'm doing boot camps and workshops. I'm branching out of content and becoming a bit more of a face-to-face personalized brands. I would say that like for me, every time I produce a piece of content or do the next project, I'm taking another brick out of the wall and becoming more me.
Yep.
The weird thing is, I think as a personal brand, it's difficult to start 100% you. As much as you're like, I'm going to try and be authentic, I think there's always like, well, have you even figured who you are out yet, right? Like if you're 21, have you figured yourself out? Like you're kind of a new adult, you yet to experience the world. What I'm trying to say here is I think as a personal brand, you just have to kind of get out there and just do something and figure out who you are through the creative process. And I think so many times that people reach out to me and talk to me like, where do I start? It's like, just start. And like, you'll figure it out as you go and you'll find things you do like, you don't like, you'll test and experiment things that resonate with you and don't. And you'll start to figure out like once enough bricks are out of the wall, you're like, oh, this is what I'm about.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
it's taken me 4 years to figure that out. Now I'm like, okay, I really just want to connect with people and help them and educate them and help them get their stride in whatever their passion is.
And who you are is constantly evolving. If you find that thing early, you go, this is who I am right now. That doesn't mean this is who I am and this is who I have to be for the rest of my life. So this is my brand. Right. If you stay there forever, it gets to the point where what was authentic then is no longer authentic. You're losing that authenticity.
Right. Are you acting
you don't have
the old self?
Yeah, exactly. You go, I chose that this is where I want to be and that's where I'm going to stay forever. And then at some point you're forcing yourself to stay there as opposed to growing naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, natural progression of your identities, it's human. Nothing change. Nothing. For me, it's like nothing really ever stays the same. Like your children are going to grow up, they're going to get older. Your role as a father, as a partner is going to shift. Your role in, a company or team members or running a business, it's all going to change. And I think, to try to stay the same and try to own a concept in the market is difficult. Like I'd challenge you guys to name one personal brand that never changed.
That worked?
That works.
Yeah, because they fail.
Yeah.
They fail if they don't change.
There's probably a few cases, but like even like the biggest artists
what about the Queen?
That's true.
Do we reckon she's changed?
Yeah, but how interesting is the Queen?
Wiggles have
They
changed.
pivoted.
Yeah,
they're
Emma.
doing like 18 plus shows and stuff as well.
what?
Like
Yeah.
original Wiggles do 18 plus shows.
And
Where
they've
do
got
you
a girl
get
Wiggles.
Cam on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slaps.
All right,
Look
you
up
guys
the
have to
tree.
swap for 5 minutes because this is interesting. This is some crazy shit.
They're like, put the Wiggles fan on the mic.
No, I'm dude. Like I'm a Wiggles fan. I've been to their children's concerts, but Cam, you went to their.
You went to the adult concert?
So they did a show. Well, actually, they did it like a version. For Tame Impala Elephant, and it was like amazing.
It was
So
number one.
So
on the
like a
Hottest
version
100.
is a YouTube channel for a radio station here in Australia where people do a cover of a famous song. So the Wiggles are, just to fill people in here, they're a children's band that's been around since like what, the freaking 80s, man.
Yeah.
There's a rebrand for you. They used to be the Cockroaches and they were an adults band.
Correct.
And then they rebranded
Rock
to the
band.
Wiggles.
I'm so glad
Wait,
about
what?
that.
I didn't know
rock
that.
band. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were like an OG rock band, and then they pivoted into and basically created the music for like children.
Yeah.
That whole industry.
How did that
happen?
happen? How do you go from rock to like, you know what, we're gonna make kids songs?
Well,
Hot
they just saw an
potato.
It's the next
opportunity or
episode of the
gap in
pod, just
market.
the Wiggles.
Yeah.
Let's do a Wiggles episode, man. Yeah, go ahead.
But so yeah, they do this like weekly or fortnightly like cover each for this radio station, and then they invited the Wiggles on. I don't know how that came about, and then they don't announce.
They're an ABC artist.
They don't announce what the song's going to be. They just go, "We're about to play a song," and then they say, "We're about to play a song by Tame Impala, which is an Australian psychedelic rock band called Elephant."
And
they
these guys
all
make music
dress
for
up.
like 3-year-olds.
They all dress
Play
up.
it,
It's
play it.
amazing.
It's iconic.
Yeah, pull it up.
So this
'Cause
one,
to be a kids artist doesn't mean you're not like you're lesser than. It's
No.
equally as difficult, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
people forget that
Like-
with the like maturity.
Cave and I
level
were
of the
talking
song.
about this before. Same in comedy artists. People
No,
go,
can
"Oh,
you
it's just
actually
made
play
to be
it?
funny. It's not
you wanna
good."
play
It's
it?
like, no,
Yeah.
but if you release a comedy song that's not catchy,
Yeah,
no one
doesn't
cares.
work.
Like-
It's the same with writing kids' books. People assume that because they're simpler, they're
Yeah.
easier, but they're actually harder in a lot of ways than
Yeah.
adult books.
I can sing you the Wiggles discography. Like that's how catchy those songs were back in the day. Like you have to be a good songwriter.
Yeah, it's weird
do
because
that.
they're a brand where like I grew up with it as a kid,
Uh-huh.
and now I'm a dad, and I liked the Wiggles when I was a kid. I'm like, man, my kid's gonna love this.
Yeah.
So now it's like doubling down. It's like the parents are fans or were fans now. They're like making sure that their kids are fans as well. Like when I was a kid, I love this. You'll love this too. It's a bonding thing.
I'm gonna make sure my kid likes Harry Potter
Let's go.
for sure.
Let's go.
Yeah.
100%. My kids aren't old enough yet, but like 100%.
So anyway, they were playing this song at Ace Arena. The whole mosh pit was like fully just jumping. Like I went to this gig and it
So
was
like,
Ace
fill in the
Arena.
backstory, right? So they did an adults
Only show.
only show.
So they did one
18
in-
plus. You could drink.
They did one in like the northern beaches in Sydney, and it sold out within less than 5 minutes. So it was like a very small, like let's just say 1,200 people
Right.
venue, sold out within 5 minutes. Almost impossible to buy tickets.
Yeah.
And then they cottoned on that. Basically, this is what we're talking about: is that there's a contingency of their fans now who now have disposable income. So
And nostalgia. Pair
and
that
nostalgia.
with the
yeah,
need for
they're like,
nostalgia.
fuck yeah,
right?
I'd want to see the Wheels, Fruit
Yeah, yeah.
Salad, all those songs.
Yeah.
And they now did an arena tour of Australia and
Right.
sold out everywhere. We're talking like, what's Ace Arena capacity?
15,000 when it's in the round, I think. So maybe
Yeah.
10,000 with the setup they had.
They had 10,000 18 plus people going. And we're talking like children growing up who are now like 21 or whatever, and they were
Right.
taking their parents as like
Yeah.
the nostalgia appeal of like
It's
you're
like
now
that full
21.
circle moment, right?
Yeah, and then the best
Wait, people are
part,
taking like their 50-year-old dad and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
My mum would love that. She'd be on the wines like, yeah,
Yeah, fucking hot potato.
good.
Yeah.
And then
I want high five to do it. That's what I want next.
given it's Australia when you go to the bathroom and there's people like plastered drunk in the bathroom. I won't say what was happening, but
At a Wiggles
we
show.
at a Wiggle
Getting
show. Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
the vibe of it. But yeah, this is just a brand that has pivoted and embraced the like 18s plus now. They even played on Splendor in the Grass, which is arguably the
way.
biggest festival in Australia.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the Lego thing. It's like, it comes full circle, right? Like now that people have disposable income, they're spending $1,200 on a Millennium Falcon, like we're talking about
Yeah.
on the last pod. But that's crazy, man. I remember when you told me that, I was like, that's interesting how they can exist in two hemispheres at the same time, right? Because how hard is it for a brand to exist for children, for 3-year-olds, but then simultaneously exist for 18 plus?
Well, Murray, I think Murray's the red one. I'm not sure, but he does like proper rock bands now. Like he's
Yeah.
no longer really affiliated with Wiggles too much.
Okay.
They brought him back just for the 18 plus shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's almost like two separate bands now. You've got
Yeah.
the new Wiggles and then you've got the old Wiggles that do the 18 plus shows.
Yeah. Shout out to the Wiggles if you're listening. We
Get the
love you.
Wiggles on the pod.
Let's try to do that, man.
Let's do it.
Because Jeff, the old purple Wiggle.
Yeah, yeah.
Jared has this funny story because he like knows someone that knows Jeff, and he lives in the northern beaches in
Yeah,
Sydney.
yeah. He's another beaches guy.
And so yeah, this is Jeff here on the screen, right? So there's a song called "Wake Up, Jeff," and
I was about to
people.
say, "Wake up, Jeff,"
Yeah.
and then I'm like, "Hold it back, hold it back."
Oh, resist.
the urge.
It's all like programming from when you're a child.
Yeah.
But like what happens is people know where he lives and they go to his house at like 3 a.m. and they beep and they scream and they're like, "Wake up, Jeff."
I would have a
That would
fake address
haunt him
listed.
forever. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. But apparently he loves it. He thinks it's funny.
You love that once.
Yeah.
The second time you're like, no.
Yeah.
You
I
sleep
reckon-
with
Done. See
earplugs
never.
in for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, it happens regularly.
Wow.
Of course it
People
does.
are drunk. It's late in the morning, and
Do you
they're
think it's the same locals every time? It's literally like the guy 3 doors down.
let's go.
They're
to
in their group
Jeff's
chat. They're
house.
like, should we wake them up? Let's do it.
Yeah, every Friday.
Do it again. I would love to get the Wiggles on the podcast.
Let's do it, man. I met the Blue Wiggle. What's his name? Anthony.
My brother did landscaping for the Blue Wiggle.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Apparently.
If you live out towards Galston.
Right. Well, apparently their production company's up the street. So I was having breakfast the other day with my daughter. We go on like a daddy-daughter date on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And the guy who like manages the cafe is like, notice that my little girl, she's 3. She's wearing Emma Wiggles' outfit. And he goes, did you know Emma comes here frequently?
Oh.
So apparently he goes, so I'm just going to camp this place out.
Yeah.
See if I
until
can
you
find
meet the
Emma. I'm like,
Wiggles.
hey, you want to come on my podcast?
Well, they're an ABC artist. I think that's why they did Triple J, because Triple J is owned by the ABC.
All right.
I remember we did a school excursion to see like the Wiggles behind the scenes back in the day.
Yeah.
It was like we got to walk along the set and stuff. It was very cool.
Let's do it, man. Let's email the ABC, see if we can get them on here. And on that note, guys.
Or just get people to petition. Tag them in the comments. Tag the Wiggles.
I have the text line saved as my top number and I text it all the time. So
Hang on, for what? For the Wiggles?
for the 702 radio show that I listen to religiously every morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is
I
great.
didn't know you
didn't
listen to
this
radio.
about
We're
you.
talking about nostalgia.
What?
My
Yeah.
mum used to play it every morning. So when I left home, I was
Yeah.
like, it's weird and silent in the morning. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
started playing my mum's radio
That's so
show.
wholesome.
And now I love it.
What do you text in? Like, are you entering competitions? Is it like sharing stories?
Well, they'll
What's-
talk about, like, sometimes I'll be like, the train is down on this line, and they'll
Yeah.
announce it to people, or
Yeah.
you do opinion pieces and they do votes. And yeah.
Have you ever
Right.
been on, like, have they
Well,
called
they call you back, and then I
Yeah.
haven't picked up. I'm like, I don't want to talk to them.
But you're just
so
like
funny.
feeling included.
Yeah. When they read the text out, and I'm like, that was me. That was me.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
have been like announced and featured.
Yeah, because they
right.
talk about, and I'm like, I said that.
I did that once. I texted in a radio station to ask them to play our song,
Yeah.
and then they didn't realize that I was the artist whose song I was requesting. And they called to be like, you've requested Cherry Chapstick by Forever Ends Here. Tell us why you want to hear that song.
Yeah.
Because I wrote it and I get 0.002 cents if you play it. Like, can you do that?
Yeah, they're like, sure. You're
Like, okay,
"Ching,
this guy's just
ching."
plugging himself.
Yeah.
I love the 0.002. It's so specific, and it's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll give you that.
Yeah.
We can afford that one.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. And that like, yeah, let's
Meanwhile, we should put that as a backing track to something. Boosted.
Give me some
Anyway.
let's do it, man. Let's
Yeah.
get some royalties out there,
Let's
bro.
get some
Back yourself.
0.002 cents going on.
Thank you.
Yeah. And because we're talking about music today, plug yourself, man. Selfishly. Go.
All right. I'm in 2 bands. One is called Ever Change. If you're into 80s synth wave, that's the vibe. It's very nostalgic. We wear red. We film everything on film. And the other one is called Forever Ends Here, which is a pop punk band, probably most similar to Blink-182, Fall Out Boy sort of vibes. And we just got together for a reunion and came off our reunion tour, which was very, very exciting. And we're working on a new record at the moment.
Woohoo.
And what's the new record called?
Can't tell you that. Exclusive information there.
All right. We'll drop it on the pod when it's hot.
Yeah, when it's hot.
And we'll put some links in the chat. So if anyone wants to check out your music and your band and what you're doing, man.
Go for
They're
it.
both really good.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you
back
so
that.
much.
Yeah. I'm going to the next show.
And while we're on the note of plugging yourself, I believe someone on this couch has a new book coming out. Am I correct?
All right. Yeah. So we kind of had the pre-sale up maybe a month ago, but we didn't really announce it. But the 90-day brand plan is available pretty much in most retailers. So wherever you're listening to in the world, whether it's Amazon, maybe Amazon's the best place to get it, but Barnes & Noble, Target, Kmart, Dimmicks, Booktopia, Walmart, wherever you want to get it. It's available for pre-orders, and I do believe it comes out on the 8th of May. But yeah, the book essentially is about how to build your personal brands and blow yourself up in 90 days.
And it feels real. Look at that hardcover. How
Yeah.
good.
So
It is
at the
real.
moment, we don't actually have the book, but yeah, we've just put it on as a hardcover. But yeah, so I'm excited. It's going to have a bunch of illustrations in it. It's got a couple of stories about what I've gone through, and yeah, we're just trying to make it as action-packed as possible. We've taken the 4 years of content I've created and just kind of compiled it into a super actionable book.
We've already tested this on a few people, haven't we? We've had a few clients blow up in 90 days
Yeah.
using your plan, which is
This isn't
incredible.
theory. Like, we've done this thing with multiple brands. So we've worked with Simon Beard from Culture Kings. He's brought his personal brand up. Adam Hudson has applied a lot of this and his brand's gone great. Paul
Paulie
Ayash
from Hospital Dojo.
Yeah, we didn't want to write this book until we tested it like thoroughly with people. And I think, you know, people that like take heed, because you can give advice to people and they might not do it. But the people that actually applied these methods have all had success, all grown their brands. And that's when I felt confident enough to distill it into a book and go, all right, I can make this accessible to the world. Yeah.
There's some gold in there.
Yeah, so grab a copy. And it's on pre-sale. And if you're one of those people that's like, I want the audio, we're working on it. We'll get it out there soon. So yeah.